You were calling me arrogant.
Oh.
What? This is a crazy... I would like to just take this in a moment.
Wait.
A whole different perspective of what happened. He's like, oh, yes. I think...
I was just saying I was arrogant. I'm trying to throw myself under the bus, and then you're like, you didn't say that. And I'm like, wait, what?
Because, no, but you throwing yourself
okay.
That's not you throwing yourself under the
I
bus.
remember now. Yo, what's good? Welcome to the Mowry podcast. I'm Tavior Mowry.
I'm Zandy Mowry.
And this is the Mowry podcast. Thanks for being here with us. We appreciate it.
Episode number
15.
15.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's a long time.
Mm-hmm.
Content, a lot.
Content a lot.
Content, a lot on lot. Consistent on lot. Lord willing. Every Monday. Pulling up.
My parents just watched their first episode
That's
like
cool.
last week.
That's what's up.
Yeah, they said we're doing a good job.
Cool.
It's good. So it's never too late to join the party. Even my parents are
Never too late.
just joining. So
Never ever too late. What do you want to talk about today?
today we have prepared a special. Today we're talking about confrontation / conflict resolution.
Yeah.
And
Why were you laughing?
I was laughing because it was essentially yesterday for us.
Facts. I think we should talk about it.
The guitar stuff?
Yeah.
Sure. I'm always trying to gauge your...
Yeah.
Because...
I feel you.
For you guys, you don't know. But Tave likes to talk about, for the sake of like protecting our marriage and protecting what information we give you guys, because we believe 100% in vulnerability and privacy. Mm-hmm. And so Tave prefers more settled if we're in conflict or something. That's not something we want. And if we're in conflict in real time, that's not something we necessarily would want just to invite a lot of people into.
Facts. Don't have your business out in the streets.
Now, our friends or community, that's one thing. But just, social media and YouTube.
Like, we cool.
Another.
But, like, you know what I'm saying?
We don't need... If we're emotionally high, we don't need strangers' opinions to either back us or be against us, because it's just going to be a mess.
Unless it's like the endorsement of like Mr. Cool Guy.
Oh my gosh.
I had to bring it back. It's been a couple weeks.
So, because we were in a long conversation, and we'll get into it. We don't really fight like that.
Nah.
Meaning, well, I'll get into it. But because we were in like a bit of a disagreement yesterday, I was like, is that too soon for you to talk about it? Or
I don't think, because I was emotionally invested in it when I checked in on you, and I was like, yo, did I offend you? You remember when I came back home? But I'm saying, like, that, me saying that was letting me know whether or not, like, this has crossed some kind of threshold. Which is why it remained where it was. And I was like, oh, dang, like, this is not a light thing anymore. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
Even though there are some emotions in there.
Definitely.
Yeah. Well, let's get to it.
We
keep saying let's get to it, but
I never said let's get to it.
I'll get to it in a moment. Let's just get to it. Like, dang.
Do you want to start with yesterday? Or do you want to start with just our history with confrontation?
Let's start with yesterday and interweave our history.
Yesterday we were talking about the future plans, about how we want to do content and how we want to do courses, just like different things that we're thinking and praying about right now. Mm-hmm. And it got to a detail that we didn't agree on. Mm-hmm. It was like a price point thing. Mm-hmm. And Tavior is more researched than I am. He will, if he's, wanting to find out something, he will spend a lot of time studying, whether that's internet or books, but just so that he can have a good understanding of the thing that he is pursuing or the thing that he's presenting a case about. Mm-hmm. I, in this subject, have more real-time data, if you will, where, right?
Yeah, in this particular instance.
That's what I'm saying.
You have, like, real-life experience.
Real-life experience, yeah. So we have the same goal, but coming from two different angles at it. Mm-hmm. And because of the two different perspectives, our price point, we couldn't agree on where we should start the price point. Mm-hmm. Now, I guess I could say we're starting.
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay, so I'm starting an online guitar course.
Oh, yeah!
And I've been teaching guitar since I was 17, but not really consistently until 2020 when I stopped touring. And because of COVID, And then since then I've had 60 students or something like that over the course of time. What?
I was gonna say dozens of students.
No, yeah.
But that is dozens.
It is, but it's like
5 times 12.
And so I spent a lot of time researching by accident how people learn and what works when I'm teaching. And I've had a lot of success. My version of success, which is people understanding what I'm saying. Like, communication is 90% of the job when to be a teacher that's
educated.
good at their job. So I was like, okay, because of this experience, we should sell the video at this thing. And Tavior, mine was higher, and Tavior was like, nah, it's not worth that. It should be at this point.
Now let me say something real quick.
I don't want to say dollar amount because we haven't.
Right.
You know?
But I'm saying, when I was saying worth that, I was not saying that it wasn't valuable. It's
coming from his research.
Right. I was essentially explaining, like, what value would someone attribute this thing, and would they be willing to exchange their money for this particular piece of value? But the thing about value is it's subjective. You know what I'm saying?
But the thing about Tavior is he wasn't saying this yesterday.
I was not.
So, you know how he wants to... Yeah, he wants to be like, oh, so now that...
just miss your level
this wasn't it. You know, yesterday it was not like this. Yesterday, I would... Again, okay, so we don't... When I say we don't fight that much, I'm talking about we don't use moments of confrontation to disrespect each other.
Nah.
So we're not yelling, or we're not, like, cussing at each other, or we're not trying to make slights all the time.
It's my past passive-aggressive history that sometimes creeps back.
We are truly trying to get through the moment unscathed and, like, back connected.
Yeah.
And that's taken years of work and practice. So in this moment, I'm like, what I hear is what you're bringing to the table is not that valuable. And then...
that got you a little...
Yeah, because I was like, you can't tell. I know that I'm good at what I do.
But I was saying that, too.
Yeah, I know, but I'm saying what I hear. I'm saying this is what I hear.
I get that. Also, notice how I'm not listening
exactly
to anything. Like, this is in real time, which you are not supposed to do.
Just always.
So I'm going to go do what you're supposed to. It was an example.
That was just a little skit I did real fast.
Yeah. All right.
So what I'm hearing is what you're bringing to the table is not as valuable as you think it is. I also know Tave, so I know that countless times he's been wanting me to do this for years. I've had very little interest. I'm like, I could, but I don't want to. And you're still doing a lot. So, I'm also hearing, I never heard you're not a good teacher, but if you're my student and you're watching this, you know this, or if you have been my student, I'm just a people person. I like to know the person that I'm teaching on a weekly basis or every other week. And so a good portion of my students also end up telling me about their life, and I'm just kind of giving my thoughts on it and stuff like that. I think that's a gifting of mine as well. So it oftentimes kind of intersects.
It's a grace.
Yeah. And speaking of, one of my students who I knew when she was dating this guy had I talked her through some crazy situations. They're about to get married.
Oh, congrats to her.
Yeah, that's awesome.
That's what's up.
So my defenses automatically go up because I'm like, you can't tell me what I'm worth based on your research. And he's like, I'm not trying. Okay, do you want to say what you're saying?
I think I was telling...
Do you want to say the arrogant part?
What was the arrogant part?
I don't know. You said it.
I forgot.
You were saying I'm arrogant for thinking that... Gosh.
Dang.
The thing about us is once it's over, we don't really remember it that well.
I think I was saying I was arrogant for thinking that I knew what you...
No, you were not calling yourself arrogant. You were calling me arrogant.
Oh.
What? This is a crazy... I would like to just take this for a moment.
Wait.
Have a whole different perspective of what happened. He's like, oh yes. I think...
I was just saying I was arrogant. I'm trying to throw myself under the bus, and then you're like, you didn't say that. And I'm like, wait, what?
Because no, but you throwing yourself
okay.
That's not you throwing yourself under the
I
bus.
remember now. I was saying you were arrogant for thinking...
I could sell it at a certain point.
Selling it at a certain point without...
Just the strength of being me.
Yeah, just off the strength of being you. And like from my understanding, we as people usually interact with things that we trust.
Mm-hmm.
And I was saying, like, to the dozens and dozens of people that you have done lessons with, you've built trust with those people.
Mm-hmm.
But I was coming from the perspective of somebody that just never even knew who you were. Like,
right.
Where is the opportunity to build trust? And I was perceiving these beginner courses, that's what we were talking about, like beginner guitar courses, as an opportunity for her to build trust so that when other lessons become available, people are more inclined to interact with those lessons because you've built a trust of, I've brought value to this person.
Mm-hmm.
They see this as being a valuable experience, and they know that in the future, anything else I bring to the table will also be valuable.
Right.
So I was saying the arrogance was like, you were just like, I'm Zandy. Of course they gonna rock with me.
No, that's
and
what you heard me say. That's not what I said.
Again, that's what I heard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. So we'll pause here and say this is kind of a classic dynamic in our marriage, which is what is said and what is heard.
Facts.
And in the past, we had no tools on how to navigate what was said, get back to what was said.
Uh-huh.
Because when what is heard is offensive, all of our defenses go up, and we decide you're the enemy.
Facts.
Therefore, I have to now either prove myself or defend myself, or both, against you, and that decision always causes division. Bars.
That division, wait, dang. Decisions always cause division. Those kind of decisions.
Yeah, it's me against you. Facts. That split decision. So last night we had the opportunity to make that decision or not. In our growth, 5 years ago, I think I would have shut down, which is not a good thing. I think sometimes when there is a more silent habit, I guess, then a lot of people think unhealthy communication is loud and it's the person yelling and it's the person hitting walls. Now, I'm not saying that's not unhealthy, but what I'm saying is shutting down is also just as unhealthy because it's not helping anything. It's serving yourself and going, I'm going to retreat from this because I'm not comfortable.
Right.
Or I would rather be by myself and figure it out by myself than give my spouse the opportunity to have a voice.
Right.
Or I would rather control the situation because it can be manipulative.
Facts.
By making them see me sad.
Yeah. Or silent treatment.
Yeah, like cold shoulder, like, well, fine, I'm not talking to you. So 5 years ago, how I would have handled this would have been shutting down from a manipulative place, not from it was more subconscious than intentional, but it's still my responsibility. So I would have been like, okay, then we can do whatever you want. Like, you're right. And inside been heated.
Facts.
But externally been like, I don't feel like dealing with him. And I remember my mom once told me, she was like, you shutting down is selfish. And I was like, Mom, I'm biting my tongue and you know what I mean? I'd rather be, not say the wrong thing. And she's like, no, you're trying to control it by avoiding how he's going to respond to you. And you don't want to be in a situation where you are met with a response that you don't want to deal with. So you then control the situation by not saying anything, and that's a selfish thing because you're trying to make yourself more comfortable than make you guys more healthy. And I was like,
Need that.
And
shout out to Mom.
So that's my typical MO from the past in confrontation. What would you say yours was? 5 years ago, how would you have handled it yesterday?
I would have been like, all right, go make a dumb choice. I'd be like, all right, cool. You'll be knocking.
Yeah.
All right.
100%.
I'm keeping it lit.
Yeah.
I'm keeping it lit. And in that, I think it's just kind of like still learning the muscle of like listening. I desire to have the opportunity and ability to communicate fluidly in conflict.
Mm-hmm.
It's just sometimes when the bullets start flying, what you were explaining earlier as far as like the emotions becoming the prevalent thing,
Mm-hmm.
that is a difficult thing for me to rein in because it literally feels like I'm holding the horses and I'm like, hey, like chill out so you can listen to what's going on. That's the biggest thing is listening. And we could talk about this a little bit, the whole like taking offense. What was that? Like it was a quote that you mentioned to me and you're like, do you agree with this? And you're like, not taking offense is like a sign of maturity.
Yeah.
I was like, I agree with that. I feel like the moment that you are offended, you've lost. Because you've let something enter into you in a way that is now being led emotionally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what offense is. I'm offended. Mm-hmm. Like, as someone is expressing that sentiment, it's with emotion. Instead of being like, okay, I understand this is what you said. I understand this also makes me feel this particular way. But I'm not going to react. I'm going to respond. And that's what offense to me is. Like, you can experience the same thing twice or the same thing, but the two different ways is I'm going to either respond to this or react to this.
Yeah, I think that's what I would say. I don't think it's the moment you feel offended that you've lost, but maybe the moment you choose to respond out of that offense, then it's like you're kind of...
Yeah, because I'm not saying, like, just because, like, an arrow flies by you and you're like, oh, dang, I'm bleeding. Like, that's not meaning that you're not mature. Like, that just means you're human. But you getting cut and being like, hey, bro, what's up?
Yeah.
That's when it's like, hey, bro.
Yeah.
Chill out.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And it takes a lot of maturity to get cut, like actually be hit by something emotionally and not respond out of the hurt, but respond out of the goal or towards the goal. And that took and takes so much discipline and it is a muscle. Like,
that sounds like the turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
I read that and I was like, yeah, this is kind of crazy, Lord. I don't know.
And I'm not as offended. I don't get as offended as you do.
No.
I don't even really know why. Things don't just really bother me like that. Some of it is arrogance. I'll agree to. Now, I wasn't arrogant yesterday. But some of it is just like, I don't think, I can't remember who I was talking to, but I was like, let's say somebody texted me and then I texted them back and they didn't respond. My brain doesn't go towards, I wonder if they're mad at me. Or like, I wonder if I said something wrong or offended them. Like, somebody has to tell me that I've offended them in order for me to think that I've offended them. I normally put myself in the right. I'm like, well, I'm sure it wasn't me, but if it is, they'll tell me. You know what I mean? So I think that sometimes when we're in conflict, I'm like, this probably ain't a me problem, but I'm down to listen, which is not healthy.
Facts.
But it also makes me very hard to offend because I'm not thinking like, that's true. Everything you say or everything you're feeling is a direct reflection on the honest truth about me. Everybody has a filter. Everybody has a past. Everybody has a reason they hear things a specific way.
I feel like that's an identity thing. Yeah. Like, for me, I feel offended if I'm misunderstood.
Or if you think you're misunderstood.
So it's like, but for me, something that I'm walking through is in that desire to be understood. I feel like if I'm understood, then you would know me. And if I'm known, then I'll be understood. And by that, you will understand me. And
that you'll be like loved for who you are and they'll never leave.
Right. But even that is like the most feeble thing that you could build on top of. Because even if you did understand and you did know me, you still don't really know me. You know what I'm
or
saying?
if you do know you and love you and see you and are sometimes misunderstand you, because of the misunderstanding thing, it threatens the do you really know me?
Facts.
You know what I
Which
mean?
is like, bro, you built your plot of land, or you built on a plot of land that is not solid.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a me thing.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I probably would be more prone to the like, what's up? Like, what you mean you don't understand this? You know what I mean?
So yeah, so now fast forward to yesterday. So 5 years after how we would have responded. Yesterday was a kind of a 3-part conversation. It started with, wait, no, maybe I'm getting confused with the other day. What was the day that I went and like took a shower and then came back and we talked? That was when we were talking about trusting God with time versus trusting God with money.
Yeah.
And both. So that was a different confrontation. This one was he went to the grocery store. So we're talking about it. Things are getting heated. I'm not backing down. I'm like, absolutely not. I'm not selling it for that much. And he's like, you're not listening to me. So misunderstood. You know what I mean? And I'm like, I'm listening to you. I just disagree with you. And my thing is, I don't like when people tell me I'm not listening just because I'm not agreeing. So sometimes I can take that a little far. And I'm like, I am listening. Haven't heard a thing. but I'm like,
I am listening.
Yeah, I hear you. I just don't agree with you. So we go back and forth. And then because we're both on a defensive side, his research comes into the conversation and my experience comes into the conversation.
Both equally valid.
But now we put them on opposing sides. When they're really meant to be on the same side to go towards the problem. And I'm like, this is what I've done. And he's like, this is what I've learned. And both of us are kind of feeling like my point is a little more valid because of whatever reason. And so we go back and forth for a little bit. I think Triumph is like running around in the midst of it, which is another reason we're not like, our tones weren't any much more louder than they are now. But our feelings were on 3 million.
I wasn't that up there. But
you were, why are you, what?
Continue with the story,
dude. So, in the middle of it, he goes to the grocery store to pick up some stuff.
Not on some like I need to get out the house. I really need to get some olive oil.
And there was like a pulse or a pause in the conversation. So he's like, I'm gonna head to the store, and I'm like, okay, cool. He leaves the house. I'm immediately call my sister, my twin sister, and I'm like, Lexi, and she's like, I'm like, what are you doing? And she has 4 kids. I hear them like screaming in the background. I'm like, I need you. Like, don't. And I'm like, this is what happened. This is the thing. And now this is a good example, too, of, like, processing with somebody that has, like, one, knows you, but also knows and loves your spouse. So she wasn't like, you're right. Everything you're saying is right. And, like, he's wrong. It was like, dang, I can see how you feel this way. She does a really good job of, like, validating, like, oh, that has to feel like you're not valued. That has to feel like you don't have a voice, you know. And you're allowed to say X, Y, and Z. And then it was also like, but remember, he also values you. You like don't let the enemy twist that into thinking that you're not valued at all. So I was like, fine, the balance. Okay. I want to say he came back shortly after, and we were kind of silent. He's washing dishes, and he's like, did I offend you? And I was like, no, you didn't offend me, but I just don't agree with you at all. And he's like, okay, I just want to make sure it wasn't offensive. And I'm like, nope. And did he offend me? Not. Maybe I was talking about, maybe I felt offended, but I was trying to say I wasn't responding out of offense. Mm-hmm. Maybe. I didn't feel hurt. So can offense and hurt be 2 different things? Yeah. So maybe that, I don't know. Sure, I think he did offend me, but in a way that I felt like you were dismissing or diminishing what value I was bringing to the table.
And that's offensive to you.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Even though that's not what I was saying.
It's not what you were saying.
But it's what you felt.
And it is what I felt. And it's not what you were saying.
Okay.
Do you think so?
No, I agree. I think to be heard in the way that I wanted to be heard, it's me saying that I believe that you could be, I'm saying you can be like Jimi Hendrix himself, I'm looking at it from like more of a principle rather than it's not like an individual thing to me. It's more of the principle of it. Right. You know what I mean?
I feel that.
That's where I was coming from.
Yeah.
So it was like I would be saying this to anyone. You know what I mean? Regardless of whatever they wanted to do. Like if they wanted to teach people how to tie shoes, like, okay. But like, why should I trust you to teach me to tie shoes, and why would I find this valuable?
But where I think there's a hole in that is that because I've done it so far, and people have been like, I just saw your page, and I signed up for a course.
But that wasn't my experience, because I didn't have that experience that you have. You know what I mean? I'm not in the driver's seat.
But I'm saying that's what's tricky about principles to me.
Facts.
Because I'm like, they're general, but at the same time, they're kind of...
Yeah, they're not hard and fast rules.
Right.
Yeah, it was like broad strokes.
Yeah. And this is also where we got a lot, because we both think we're right. And most people do. That's just humans. Like, nobody goes into something thinking, I'm probably wrong about this, but I'm really about to fight for it. But when we both think that we're right, and we're both on the stubborn side, you don't think you are?
I'm a headstrong individual.
Okay, I'll call your siblings and ask. It's hard to get through a conversation.
Yeah.
So we start talking again, and then I kind of piped up again, because I was like, you were trying to play me. You know what I mean? Like, and he was like, no, I wasn't. And I'm like, and at this point we can get to some laughs and some, I'm like, I'm about to prove you wrong. Like, I'm gonna charge $1 million. You know what I mean? And be like, and people will still come. And then he's like, I'm not saying I don't believe in you. I'm saying the principle. And I'm like, I feel that. I'm good at what I do. Like, I just know that will create more opportunity than a price point will, was ultimately my general thing. So at the end of the back and forth, we were able to come to the same page for the most part. We still haven't agreed on a price, but we also didn't have to go back through the confrontation and clean up a mess that we made, because we've learned how to communicate through it enough to, like, if I was going to point out, like, this is an example of how we did it well. When defenses go up, you slow down internally. I know for a fact that both of us had a million things we could have said, like, and wanted to say, but had to make the choice, like, everything is permissible, but not everything is beneficial. Is this comment beneficial to our marriage? Because ultimately, we still have to sleep together or side by side, however you're going to play it, at the end of the night. And the guitar course will be the guitar course. You know what I mean? But, like, the guitar course can't damage the marriage. And then also, like, reading the room, leaning into the pause. Tavior didn't have to leave when he did, but he chose, let's give it some air. Let's give it some space. But not in a way that was...
escaping or running away.
Running away or leaving me feeling like he left. It was like, I think, too, maybe having a kid and just being in a different season. Like, the probability of us starting and completing a conversation when Triumph is awake is like 0 to none.
Right.
So we're just kind of used to having to pick up where we left off. When Tavior came back, and probably doing that because of long distance tour, we've done that for a long time. When Tavior came in, he checked in. Did I offend you? Not, you offended me. You know what I mean? Like, you're wrong. But it was like a caring question. I responded with like 50% honesty, I'm realizing now. So I apologize for that.
I accept your apology.
And then you try again. And then we got through that one. And again, I'm more proud of the fact that we were connected and not necessarily that we agreed. We still don't agree.
Really?
We definitely don't.
I thought we were...
No.
I'm sorry.
We definitely do not.
I'm playing around. Go ahead.
And then we just landed. Like, sometimes you just gotta land. All of the time, you gotta land.
Everything that goes up gotta come down.
And I don't want it to come crashing down. And we've done the crash and burns so many times where I said what I wanted to say, he said what he wanted to say, and we both end up worse than when we started the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
Or I was proven right, but then we were disconnected. Not because I was right, but because the way I went about being right was wrong.
Facts. Yeah, I'm just gonna let her know how it is. I'm gonna just like that's lacking in self-control.
Mm-hmm.
It's lacking in love. There's no fruits of the spirit in that.
Mm-hmm.
There's no grace. There's no kindness. No patience. I feel like that's probably one of the best things to do is what I'm saying lining up with this checklist that I'm like, ooh, was this condescending? Well, that's not love. Was this condemning?
Okay, but it's hard though. I'll ask you this because you were saying you have a history of being passive aggressive.
Mm-hmm.
When you don't have a long history with using language that feels honest, but also it doesn't have any edge on it. Like, how do you find language? You know what I mean? Because you're like, the only thing coming in my brain right now is something saucy. You know what I mean?
Facts. I think for me, it's like a lot of it fundamentally is rooted in pride and ego, which is like they're very similar things. I guess interchangeable to a certain degree. But I'm saying that I'm gonna say something sauced up because I'm trying to hit you in some kind of way because I've been hit. Mm-hmm. The pride in me has been hit. So I'm like, what? Like, what about that? You know what I'm saying? Whereas it's kind of like, what is it? Love has no
record of wrong.
Yes. And it's like, oh, the passive aggressive is like, let's go tit for tat. Whereas the love is like, I'm being honest with you, and the interest isn't me getting a mark. The interest is me expressing to you how I feel, and for you to understand that. And that doesn't necessarily mean like it's got to be sweet. It could be something like really
That's hard
ugly,
to hear. Yeah,
on the ears. But the posture of the heart, everything. What is it like? Out of the mouth.
The oracle of the heart, so the mouth speaks.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it's like, that's really what's going to tell you what's going on.
And I think something that we did with Tav and with me was being like, say it, I'm going to say this and then I'm going to clean it up. Like, I don't know exactly the perfect way or the most like nuanced way to say this.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just need to say, that felt like a selfish thing to do.
Facts.
To me. And not, you're selfish.
Yeah.
Like, accusation always causes division.
Yep.
There's never been a time where somebody's been accused of something and they walked away closer than they did before the accusation.
Facts.
And so, learning how to take responsibility for how you're feeling in that moment. Dang, I feel like you weren't thinking about me. You're only thinking about yourself in that decision. Or I feel like you're not valuing what I'm bringing to the table. Always helps with giving language in conflict that doesn't seem fake, because you don't want to be like, well, you're right, again, like I would do, like the codependent, just trying to appease your emotions thing. But at the same time, you don't want to be have accusation in your mouth or just talk from a place of being like highly defensive.
Something that Chad had taught me, my counselor, he was saying that in order to evade the temptation of accusing someone in an attempt to communicate your emotion, what would be more beneficial is to explain how something made you feel, rather than being like, you made me feel this. It's like, when I heard you say this and I thought about that made me feel sad, because now it's not you made me feel sad, but the things that you were talking about actually made me feel sad. So it removes itself from being this accusatory language at an individual, but it kind of shifts more so towards the topic at hand.
Mm-hmm.
Which disarms that person
Mm-hmm.
because now it's not like, oh, I did it.
I
It's
need to defend myself from a narrative.
Facts.
Yeah.
Now that person's focus is shifted to the topic and not necessarily on themselves,
Mm-hmm.
which prevents them, hopefully,
Mm-hmm.
from responding from a place of pride. I'm not saying that this is always going to happen.
And I was going to say that takes two mature people, or at least two people who want to be mature.
Facts.
To do, and sometimes it just takes building the muscle.
Yeah.
Because like someone can be steeped in their history of I've always had to defend myself.
Yeah.
No one's ever talked loving to me.
Yeah.
In confrontation, it always ended with blood. Figuratively or physically. Yeah. And I can't afford to not have my armor on. And to some people, that armor might be defensiveness, attitude, passive aggressiveness, manipulating by shutting down. Like, there's a lot of... Triumph doesn't do these things naturally. He's very vulnerable. Mm-hmm. If he's sad, he cries. If he's happy, he'll like scream. It doesn't matter where he is. Like, the defensiveness is learned and not necessarily something that we're just born with. And because it's learned, you have to remember everybody had different teachers.
Yeah.
Everybody had different parents. Everybody had different circumstances. Everybody has different histories. And those teachers have to be like kind of checked out and be like, dang, I got this from so-and-so because they needed it. Like, this actually isn't a tool that's like helping me. So that's what I'm saying. It sounds like a lot of work, but the starting point is just going, how do I take responsibility in this for how I feel, even if it is at the hands of somebody that you're married to or you're dating or just friends with, and you're saying, yeah, I feel
in your relationship.
Yeah, I feel whatever. I feel fear. I feel lonely. I felt shamed in that moment. I felt a lot of guilt. Whatever it is, what I could have done differently last night was said, I feel sad that your perspective of me or what I bring to the table feels low based on the price point you're presenting. Because the history is, when I first started teaching during COVID, again, my price point was so low. Like, I was working as hard as I was working and made fine money, but it was also at a place where, like, I was overextending myself because everybody could afford it. And I'm not saying I want to price it to where people can't afford it, but I'm saying it was just like, it didn't, the price point didn't reflect any value that I had about myself. It was just all about what can I sell it for.
Yeah, they didn't intersect.
And it took a lot of like counseling for me, like going to therapy and being like, why am I okay with this? Like, what about this makes me, because if Tabe told me the exact same situation, I'd be like, you got to charge more. Like, you're worth more. But when it came back to me, it was like, that's all I can charge. Like, people wouldn't want to pay more. Over time, I did the work, and then I upped my prices, and then I upped them again, and people are still like happily paying for it. So part of my defense was the work that I've had to do to even feel like I could charge a specific
amount. You felt
amount.
like I was threatening that.
Yeah, I felt like you were saying that's not worth it. Like, not threatening it from an identity place, but like telling me, actually, because I think at one point you said, if I was charged that much and this was all I got, I wouldn't think it was worth it. And so I was like, dang, well, maybe I'm wrong, you know what I mean? Or maybe I'm right, but why doesn't he see that, you know? So it was just like deflating on all sides.
And again, the value is a subjective thing.
Right.
Which you explained to me, because it's like, when I was talking about the like super detailed guitar chorus.
Yeah, I'm like, people don't care about that.
Facts.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm all about it.
Yeah.
You know
You're like, if that's what you could charge for, and I'm like, I'm telling you.
Ain't nobody trying to do all of that.
I mean, sure, maybe somebody in like a private
somebody
one
like
day.
me, yeah.
But the masses typically
So,
want to play around a campfire.
Yeah.
You know, and want to have a song that can play at a talent show or, you know. But I do think just in our conversation, the value thing is such a hard conversation to have, just in general, because it's so emotional. As a woman, I'm prone more towards emotion. I didn't think I was emotional till we got married, because I have a twin sister who's more emotional than I am, or more externally emotional than I am. So I was always like, I'm the chill one. Like, I don't really... Darius
and I talk about that. We'd be talking about how Darius is my brother-in-law. Zanny brother. But my brother. We'd be talking about, like, when you do get emotional, we'd be like,
what?
Hey, what's going on? Like, wait, what's happening?
It's not that I'm typically pretty unbothered.
No, you are, but it's just kind of like the natural thing where it's just like, wait, what? You acting different, Z? For
sure. Yeah, stuff just doesn't really bother me like that until it does.
Yeah.
Like, and last night was a good example.
We live and we learn.
But what I want you to know is I do hear you saying this wasn't a value about me or what I can teach or bring to the table. You're more thinking from like a business perspective of how do we cast a wide net and catch enough fish to guarantee they're going to swim back, you know?
Yeah.
Because we've now created an appetite for the thing.
Exactly. Like, I wanted it to be like, hey, check out these mozzarella sticks. Mm-hmm. These joints are fire. Mm-hmm. Spinach artichoke dip, got that. Mm-hmm. But, like, we got steak, too. Mm-hmm. You know what I'm saying? But, like, if this spinach artichoke dip and the mozzarella sticks is jumping off, I'm for sure trying to see what's going on. Mm-hmm. But if I got some, like, that was the analogy. Mm-hmm. If I got, like, an appetizer that I was like,
this is mid.
You open up the menu at you know when you open up the menu at a restaurant and the apps is like $25, you like, let me look at my bank account because it's about to get crazy.
Yeah.
I'll
just take the water.
Y'all got bread,
right?
Like, yeah, that's pretty much what where I was coming from. Yeah, that was a real-time conversation that we had in conflict, and obviously you can tell that we're still walking through it. Though, in that walking through it, every time you walk through it, you gain more insight, depending upon if you choose to gain that insight. Mm-hmm. And that's my biggest takeaway is what was intended for division and separation actually brought us closer. Mm-hmm.
And it always happens that way.
Yeah.
If you submit to the process of it and not derail it by letting your emotions and your reactions take the lead. And this is a good example too, because it's not resolved. Like, we're not saying, and now we agree and everything is good because we came to a conclusion that we both agreed on. We're saying we didn't disconnect.
Yes.
And now, because there's more understanding around the topic, because like you were saying, we were able to shift our focus to the topic and not just be defensive against us. We're able to look at it with more information. Like, this is where you're coming from. I get that. This is where I'm coming from. Cool, I get that. Now we can tackle it on the same side.
Yeah, instead of looking like this, we're both sitting looking like this.
You with research, me with experience, both now obviously at the table, and we can kind of talk through from that perspective. So that is our unresolved piece of conflict. Well, I guess the conflict part was resolved.
The conflict's resolved. But the discussion is still going.
Yeah. And I just think it's important for people to know that's a thing.
Yeah. And that's cool.
Yeah.
And to be honest with you, having that quote unquote conflict.
He always wanted to reframe it after. Like, y'all saw at the beginning of the video, he was like, so what I was saying, no, you actually did not say that.
From having that conflict, we've grown even closer together, and there's fruit in that. You know what I mean? There's going to be a fruit from it on either side. Just what kind of fruit do you want to engage with?
Right.
Yeah. That's what's going on this side. If you are interested in guitar courses, Zandy does teach private courses. But yeah, that's something that we're working towards. I play guitar as well. I produce music. There's gonna be we should play. Like, not right now.
But I was like, what?
Have, like, you see the amp, you see the guitar. We're guitar players, we're musicians. Amongst them.
He has a show on Tuesday.
I have a show on Tuesday. Yeah.
So it'll be the day after this comes out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If you're in Nashville, pull up. It's at
The basement.
The basement, doors at 8. Zenny's gonna be playing with me. It's gonna be lit. Pull up if you can. Please like and subscribe. We appreciate you, and we look forward to seeing you the next time. Peace.